waged around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shali. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
This week on Cold Reality Radio. Secret Service book rocks Clinton campaign. Video, Hillary has a coughing fit again. Have sympathy for me. Upcoming tell-all by agent jumps to #1 Amazon. Philippine president-elect encourages and urges major issues with computers today, folks. And encourages urgent citizen with guns to shoot and kill drug dealers. An anti-establishment movement is favorite as voters pick new mayor in Rome. Swiss rejects basic income for all. No work required. Far right in plot to hijack the Brexit. Cloth with late Pope's blood stolen from cathedral. China talks tough over South China Sea. Chronic tardiness is a sign of insanity. They have a pill for that. Brush fires fueled by extreme heat hit Southern California. Parts of Calabasas evacuated. Thousands flee. High school students build Trump wall. Richard Simmons hospitalized for bizarre behavior. Brewing tropical storm Colin to threaten Florida. Feds secretly releasing violent criminal aliens en masse. Clinton vows amnesty for illegals in first 100 days. More TB in Minnesota. 141 exposed. Welcome to Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. Sunday, June 5th. It's 10:05 a.m. on the east coast of Nightmerica. And, indeed, we are seeing more and more problems, more and more crisis in every aspect of the world. Financial, prominently financial, but then again, isn't everything. Zika, a threat for Brazil with regards to the upcoming Summer Olympics. If the story's true, then many prominent health officials in that region in South America are saying, let's rethink this. And the World Health Organization is saying, there's no issue. There's no problem. Let's just go with it. And that right there kind of pretty much tells you everything that you need to know. If you're thinking conspiratorially, that is. If in fact this Zika virus is a problem, we're going to see more and more of the spread of this. I've read a number of different articles from people breaking it down. John Rappaport, for one, never really believes that. Obviously, the H1N1 he covered in great deal, saying that it was a bullshit story from the beginning. And, broke down in detail why it was bullshit. And, of course, with Ebola and now with Zika, a few other health crisis situations kind of locked into that, Dogs are amazing. They have a sense. They can't even see what they're growling about, but they know why. They're amazing creatures where they just know something's going on. They know something's happening, and then they lick their private parts. So, the World Health Organization says, oh, yeah, there's no issues, there's no worries, nothing that you should be concerned with. Nothing you should be concerned with there. Just, go about your business. Send all your athletes to South America, Brazil, and everything's good. Let's rock it. Let's kick it. Let's make it happen. And so that's in fact what they're going to do is load up Brazil with many different athletes from all different countries, from all over the world. And if in fact Zika is a threat, then it's going to spread. What better platform, what better situation for, and again, if this is a some sort of bioweapon, I mean, there are links to Rockefeller Foundation, surprise, right? that show that there are things that they have done in the past. The Zika virus was patented. The Ebola virus was patented. It's there. It's all there. It's all there in black and white. It's all there in black and white, man. And, you have to be mindful of these things. You have to, kind of understand that. And this has been already established by many, many very, very knowledgeable, educated people, that there is, in fact, a depopulation program. We've spoken here on Cold Reality with Clint. Okay, we've spoken with Patrick Jordan, with the with the prion agendas that are going on, these infectious proteins that get inside the body are injected into the body to that kind of sit and lie dormant in the body until something triggers them to activate. And, Clint has pointed out, is it cell phone? Does the cell phone radiation, does that do it? What is and what will cause these things to trigger and then start to turn normal proteins, almost like, and in my mind I kind of equated to like the Matrix movie, which in turn was kind of bullshit and disinformation to a certain extent. But when Smith, he was like, there's so many of me, and then he hit Morpheus and Neo. He just kind of stuck his hand like right inside their chest cavity, and then he started to replicate himself, and so that's what I kind of like think, in a sense, that's what I'm thinking. But with the breakdown of a lot of the work that that Patrick and Clint have done, it is very, very interesting to when you think about the the perfect weapon, the perfect, you think it's just something that's going to break down the immune system, that's going to do this, that's going to do that. And that's already been established. That flu shots, once given, destroy a portion of the immune system. And the prion is already a part of the human body and its defense system. And we know that when they use squalene, the squalene kind of mimicked a substance created in the body that kind of like lubricates the joints, all these different areas of the body that, the ligaments and just, the amazingness of the human body. And then in turn, you have a substance that is quite similar to that injected into the body. And when you inject or you get stung by a wasp, what Patrick and Clint call, nurses, the wasps, that we, are taught to think of in such high regard, in such, doctors and nurses and authority figures, police, all that stuff. We're supposed to, just be like, oh, you're just so wonderful, you're just so great, I actually think that probably firefighters are more heroic, because they just put their life in jeopardy just going into a fiery building. There's many examples of heroes out there, people that give of themselves, and I do not believe doctors, nurses, and I really don't believe that police. Obviously, police are not there to protect you. They're just here to protect the upper class from the middle class. They're here to protect the middle class from the below that, below the middle class. So that's what we think that they're here to do, and then because they are the barrier between you being just kind of pummeled by someone randomly, and I believe we're going to see many things like that in the future. We're going to see a breakdown. Police are being demonized openly on the television. We're seeing more and more of it, and eventually there will be, we do already have militarized municipalities, and so, having said that, they're going to be much more prepared for anything. Okay. And I believe that they are being taught that society is going to break down, and that people are just going crazy for no reason. They just do awful things. The profiling of minorities and different things like that. And then there's people out there that think the middle class or the upper middle class think, yeah, we need this. We need the police. So yeah, man, they just sit there and you just drop to your knees and start sucking because it's your these people are here to take care of you, to make sure that you're protected from these lower classes that were created financially, economically created. In this design, in this experiment that is, civilization. But be not, mistaken. Don't mistake this for anything other than it is. It's the control grid. It's the system. It's the system. It's the police are there to protect the criminals in local government, and the criminals in local government are there to protect the people and the scum in the higher levels in state government, and then all the way up to the district of criminals, where the bloodline families just do whatever it is they want to do. Taxation, more taxation, forcing Obamacare down your throat, fines to go up every year if you're not covered, the incredible cost, the increase in premiums that have taken place over the last 2-3 years. This is theft. This is grand theft. And they get away with it. They get what they want. And right now they're just preparing for an economic collapse. They all know that it's going to happen. But here's the thing. They don't care because they're going to be taken care of. They're going to be taken care of. Look at my big bank account, my family. This has to be real. It's not real. It's all going to break down. It's all going to fall apart soon. And though there will, for a period of time, there will be no one there to protect you. there will be no one there to assist you when you lock your keys in the car. If that's even still a thing today. But, you know, we've been fed a steady diet of Andy Griffith, you know, the peace officer, Fife, the policy enforcer. I've had many, I've had a decent amount of guests on here. Stephen Z, not a person or citizen.blogspot.com. He's kind of really enlightened me in many different ways. He was speaking and communicating these different narratives and memes of, you know, you shouldn't be a person. You shouldn't be a citizen. People are striving to be citizens. You see, every now and then you see a story, you know, from some state, some county, they're at a courthouse and they're like, oh, these 15 people from all over the world have just been made citizens of the United States of America. And of course they're like, oh, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. Okay. Citizenship is enslavement. The 14th Amendment is voluntary servitude, like was said to us in Payday's one of Payday's Missiles with Relish tunes, where he said, if you know, slavery's been abolished. You know, and then it goes on, the 14th Amendment is voluntary servitude, where the slaves weren't necessarily freed as much as the so-called free were brought down to the level of the slave. Or No Child Left Behind, where you take a percentage of challenged, minimally exceptional children in the educational system, and they can't seem to get it. They don't seem to understand what's being taught to them. And so what happens is, instead of creating a curriculum for them to have them advance and proceed on the level that they're able and capable. That's capable and able morphed together, if you will. Abeable. I like that. Minimally exceptional. Instead of doing that, what they did was they dumbed down the entire curriculum, so that when students get out into, or, you know, college people get out there and start looking for jobs and looking for the American dream, it's just not really there. It never really was there. The platform had to be opened up to give that illusion of the possibility of this so-called American dream. But the bottom line here is that we have a number of people out there that do not understand. They don't understand that the economy has been systematically dismantled. There is only but a few threads that are holding it together. And from there, it's, I mean, we're already seeing it in some of the stories that I went through this morning. Some of the lineups from over here, Blacklisted News, and just incredible problems with computers, you know. Can't even scroll without the spinny wheel. It's got its own connection, it's got its own hotspot, but yet it's just spinning like a fucking top. Yeah, we'll stop the script, okay? What script is that? Saudi authorities panic ban speculation on Riyal devaluation amid banking crisis, with Saudi Riyal forwards plunging back above 3.81, dramatically weaker than the current peg. Bloomberg reports that Saudi authorities are cracking down on currency traders as speculation mounts that the world's biggest oil exporter won't be able to maintain the Riyal's peg to the dollar as revenue plunges. Sweden leads the race to become cashless society. In 1661, Stockholm's Banco, the precursor to the Sweden Central Bank, issued Europe's first banknotes on thick watermarked paper bearing the bank's seal and 8 handwritten signatures. Last year, as Britain did last week, Sweden launched into a new series of notes, cheery affairs featuring 20th century Swedish cultural giants such as Astrid Lindgren, the creator of Pippi Longstocking, Greta Garbo, and filmmaker Ingrid Bergman. But like its Nordic neighbors, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden is fast becoming an almost entirely cashless society. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I got some kind of fucked up script running here. And can't even scroll. Oh, and then it scrolls when you least need it to. And in addition to all of the economic chaos that is going under the radar of most American goats, the American goat herd, and I say goats because, you know, when speaking with Clint regarding Bible and different things like that, it's like, you know, we want to be sheep. It has a different meaning. You know, words have a different meaning than we think that they do. And so it is actually better to be a sheep and not so much a goat. So if you're falling into line, not so much my listeners or other folks out there that are aware that the game is rigged and it is been designed that way from the very beginning. You know, the system's not broken. It was designed this way. There are many people out there that have no clue. Thus, you are goat fuckers. Goats. And so, let's see what we got here. Can I scroll? I cannot. I cannot go on. I'm going to have to do something. Maybe there's a... Yeah, it's fucking Drudge, probably. Fucking Drudge report. Can't even... Nah, it's probably not going to work either. This was fine before this. I never have any issues, and then I get on air, and then there's issues. Let's see what we got here. Again, as I said, Sweden leads the race to become a cashless society. And like its Nordic neighbors, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, they are fast becoming almost entirely cashless. Let's see what we got here. Nope, still happening. Just, yeah. It's tough. It's not easy. All right, so New York City sanitation officers search through people's trash to cite them for recycling improperly. Readers may be wondering how sanitation officers determine if someone is violating recycling laws. And I bring this out because we're already there. It's just becoming obvious now that as a commoner, as a denizen, as a subject to these bloodline families, they are going to put all kinds of methodologies in there, like this fake global warming. Like I don't have a problem with recycling, but every now and then, something might go in that is not a recyclable, number. It happens. Well, now you're going to get fucked because of it. They're going to fuck you. Let me try another browser. I think this one is totally fucked. So, let's see what we got here. Never have any problems. I never had problems like this at all. And now just absolute fucking garbage. Just an absolute fucking garbage performance here. Cold Reality Radio. See if this one will allow me to, I guess I'm going to have to close. Just everything's just shit. Again, they feel your garbage bags. If they feel that there is a recyclable item in your trash bag, they will open it up and check. They can't give you a fine without knowing what's in there. So they are looking into your garbage in order to give you a fine, says Steyer. What do you think? Do sanitation laws enforce this way trash privacy laws under the Fourth Amendment? Well, see, here's the thing. The Constitution doesn't really apply to you. Doesn't apply. So that might have something to do with it. It really doesn't apply to you, so, or me. All right, so that's going on. That's just yet another example. Taxpayers wasted billions of dollars on a war on cocaine that didn't work, economists say. Which is just part of the whole thing. Let's declare a war on something, and then it's a looting process. It's a complete and total looting process. Let's declare war on cancer before we inject it into you. Let's declare a war on drugs just prior to or in the embryonic stages of crack cocaine being shipped into South Central Los Angeles. Let's declare war on terror when they are the progenitors and funders, financiers of that terror. It's kind of cool if you can, it's a good gig if you can get it. And of course, if you can put your fucking head on your pillow at night and fall asleep as a human piece of shit. American taxpayers got a dismal return on their $4.3 billion investment in the Colombian drug war between 2000 and 2008, according to a new analysis by economists at MIT and Colombia's Universidad de los Andes. In the paper, which we published in, or which they published in, who the hell is this? It's hard to tell who these people are. In the paper, which, who the heck was this? The Washington Post, right? That was published in June, in the June issue of the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization. Daniel Mejia and Pascal Restrepo and analyzed the cost of to the U.S. taxpayers of the two big U.S.-funded anti-cocaine efforts in Colombia: eradication of cocoa plants via aerial spraying of herbicide, and interdiction efforts to block cocaine transit routes and seize shipments of cocaine. These efforts took place under the umbrella of Plan Colombia, a decade-long U.S.-backed initiative to fight the drug trade and organized crime in Colombia. Now, I can imagine that the criminal elements, the shadow elements of the global government that's been in place for a long time now, it's just becoming more and more obvious that it's going to look it's at some point like Hunger Games. We know that competition can be eradicated, right? So the spraying of these cocoa plant crops may have been that as well. The two men, Mejia and Restrepo, created a sophisticated economic model to account for the cost and benefit of these efforts. The model describes the international cocaine trade in its entirety, from production to transportation to sale, and it considers the tactics that cocoa growers and drug traffickers use to respond to enforcement efforts, like increasing production and shifting trade routes. Again, Mejia and Restrepo found that between 2000 and 2008, it cost the U.S. government $940,000 to eliminate a single kilogram of cocaine from the domestic market via herbicide spraying in Colombia. Eliminating that kilo via interdiction was considerably cheaper at $175,000. Why is interdiction so much more cost-effective than eradication? One reason is that cocaine's raw material, the cocoa plants targeted by eradication, make up a fairly tiny fraction of the final product's overall cost. For instance, the farm gate price of raw cocoa leaves is as little as $4.3 per kilogram in neighboring Peru. But by this time, refined cocaine reaches the U.S. market. It sells for as much as $27,000 per kilogram or more. And of course, I'm sure that these plants that have also been sprayed with this herbicide, whatever it is, probably Monsanto something or other, Monsanto looking to sell to Bayer soon so that their name disappears, but their nightmarish murdering and poisoning and toxification of the planet will go under the Bayer umbrella now. And of course, as I said, those herbicides, people will make cocaine out of them, and people will snort that cocaine and ingest that cocaine and shoot that cocaine into their body with the herbicide on there. Okay, make no mistake, that is the reason or the possible reason for that to happen. You think these people aren't going to aren't going to sell it. If say somebody has a field down there that's that it's all part of this thing, because the drug trade is what they're fake fighting against it, but they're going to toxify it and then bring it into the country, and people will get more and more just wrecked, just more and more wrecked from the just the chemical composition of it. And I feel as though that's what they've already done with marijuana. It's going to be some form of genetically modified, whatever, and then you're just going to die. And you're not going to know why. It's like the GMO. The GMO foods, the rats that were tested. Dr. Russell Blaylock has some instructional video, information related to GMO, and saying that the rats and the test subjects that ate genetically modified foods had tumors and things like that. Of course, Jack has a tumor now. Jack the dog has a tumor, and I'm just thinking, is it, it's a grain-free food or close to grain-free that he's been eating? You can only imagine that that's probably GMO too. So bad news on that front. But then that's probably takes longer in humans. Since it's only been. I mean, look at cell phones now. Look at cell phones from 1990, 1995. You're seeing people, dying of aneurysms. You're seeing people, you just brain damage, neurological conditions. Of course, Muhammad Ali, 30 plus years with Parkinson's, living with Parkinson's, where he's just, he's like, basically was a zombie, for, I'm sure like in the beginning, it wasn't as noticeable, but now it's like, when he was, I think it was 96 when he was lighting the torch at the Olympics, you could see that, he was like, he wasn't floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee anymore. Okay. And of course they try to link this with the sports, because they know it's going to go a long way to making people think that, these concussions, the boxers, they take these hits and then, that it does these things to the brain, these protein amyloids or something. It's not the concussions. It's being injected into you or getting into you in some other way. But ultimately, I'm not going to say that getting punched in the face over and over again is not going to make you a little silly. But it's the concussion movie, the Will Smith thing. It's just a front. It's a cover for these other things that are going on there. It's becoming Patrick and Clint were on here. Clint was hosting when I was not available, and they were talking about how these, how most, if not all, disease is prion. A lot of people just associate prion disease with mad cow disease, but it is, it is the hijacking of the immune system. People can be sick for a long time before things start to, before you start, showing sickness or feeling sick, where the communication lines that were once in full effect with regard to the immune system are being taken down. They're becoming less effective. So when something comes into the body, the immune system does not react to it, or the immune system overreacts to it, attacks the sees the squalene as a intruder, but then gets into and starts attacking similar areas of the body. And then what do you have? This gray spectrum area of chronic fatigue syndrome. Oh, are you in pain? Here's Humira. Here's Lyrica. Here's this. Here's that. Autoimmune diseases are injected and a result of injections. But hey, if you just want to keep thinking that we live in a society where everybody loves you and they're trying to keep you healthy and they care about the herd immunity and they want everything to be nice and good and they want you to live a long time because we're living longer than ever before, then just, do it. But that's not the case, I'm sorry to say. I don't lose any sleep. I'm just chronicling the downfall of Western civilization. The engineered downfall of Western civilization. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. So, those taxpayer dollars on the war on cocaine, yeah. Visualizing America's dominance in military spending. It is no secret, or is it? I guess not anymore. It's not. Everything's becoming more and more obvious. Zero Hedge says it's no secret that the United States spends more on its military than any other country in the world by far. To help understand the context of just how massive the U.S. spending is, following video from howmuch.net shows each country's share in the total military spending over the last 25 years. That's over at Zero Hedge, via Blacklisted News or Doug Owens blacklistednews.com. There we go. Ash Carter, another one of the bloodline, U.S. Defense Secretary. Hey, Ash, how's it going? How's it feel benefiting from the world's greatest fucking evil? So yeah, just remember they love you and they, and they're fighting and destroying cocaine crops for your safety. And of course, as I said, in addition to the economic strife and problems that are going all over the world, World War III has pretty much been going on for quite some time now. I know that probably sounds pretty outrageous, but this is the embryonic. Syria, Libya, Iraq. Those are the embryonic stages of World War III. And for those people out there that are fascinated by Vladimir Putin, you have to understand that that this system is almost complete. Global government is almost complete. So if you think that Vladimir Putin's just kind of running roughshod and fighting, and a thorn in the side, in the foot of the New World Order bloodline banking families, you better, remove your head from the stink zone, okay? Because he's not doing it. He's playing his role in the manifestation and the machinations in this embryonic World War III reality. That's it's cold reality. So Syria, the U.S. is unwilling to settle. Russia returns for another round. The Obama administration does not want peace in Syria. Of course they don't. They're funding proxy wars, al-Nusra, which is basically
terrorists. Okay, let's just encapsulate them. All of these groups, all of these so-called Islam groups, are all being funded by the international banking families. Okay, that's how this works. You think that there's enemies out there, and you're just so thankful the government's there to take care of it. Well, guess what? They're not taking care of it. If it was up, I mean, you've got Russia over there, and I'll read a little bit more of this here. The Obama administration does not want peace in Syria. The Russians finally have to admit to themselves that the U.S. is no partner for a continuation of a ceasefire, a coordinated attack against the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, and for peace in Syria. Indeed, as Lavrov explains, the U.S. has again asked to spare Al-Qaeda from Russian airstrikes, even as 2 UN Security Council resolutions demand its eradication. Huge supply convoys from Turkey are again going to the rebels, the moderate rebels, which don't really exist, but the moderate ones. They have to make it look like they're giving weapons of mass destruction or semi-mass destruction to people that are our allies. But again, just bullshit for the stupid. Keep yanking it. Again, huge supply convoys from Turkey are again going to the rebels, who will, as always, share them with Al-Qaeda and other terrorists. What else do we got here that's relevant? I mean, it's all relevant, but video shows police doing nothing as Trump supporters are beaten right in front of them. And I don't support Donald Trump. I don't support Hillary. I don't support Bernie Sanders. Okay, sorry. I'm not going to get labeled. I'm not going to be the guy who supports this one or the guy who supports that one. I would support a guitar as president, a Les Paul, preferably like one that Slash from, ex Guns N' Roses would play a guitar to be president, or a dog, Jack the dog maybe, to be president. But I don't support anyone, so if anyone should hear this and say, I wonder what political affiliation he has, I wonder where his political leanings are, I don't have any. Go fuck yourself. So America is in a crisis of conscience. Nothing highlights this notion quite like the clashes at political rallies across the country. This is Matt Agarist. We've seen Trump supporters attack Bernie. We've seen Trump supporters attack Bernie supports, and Bernie supports attack Trump supporters. All the while, both sides are ignoring the giant pink elephant in the room, the police state. Do people really think things will be different if their candidate gets into office? Failing to realize that both parties are merely two sides to the same coin is sending the country into perpetual decline. Republicans are for big government if with war, and Democrats are for war if with big government. So it's all one. It's all the one party system. making it look like there's a choice. And like the Machiavellian said, choice is an illusion created by those with power for those without. Multiple videos, even some taken by the mainstream media, show citizens brawling as cops stand by and watch. The symbolism involved in police watching as citizens were spat on, assaulted, and beaten speaks volumes to the current state of affairs in this country or corporation. The police, we are told, are here to keep the peace and protect the public. Right. However, all we saw them do in San Jose this week was protect themselves and buildings. See, there you go. That goes into the not protecting and serving the citizenship. They're there protecting the buildings, and they're there, and then ultimately, because it's going to get so outrageous, because there's not going to be enough police to be able to even do anything. There's not going to be enough police to be able to even do anything when the shit really hits the fan. Many of the attendees were attacked out in the open, said Pete Constant, former San Jose councilman and former police officer. It appears that law enforcement was more focused on protecting private property. That's right. The place and people that have pure title, which you will never have. The police in America do not protect the people. They are here to enforce the law only. If you doubt this claim, just refer to Warren versus the District of Columbia, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. Remember, not a person or citizen. You don't want to be a person, and you don't want to be a citizen. But yet we've been inserted into their matrix by consent, by birth certificate, by driver's license, by selective service. Again, police in America do not protect the people. They are here to enforce the law only. If you doubt this claim, just refer to Warren versus the District of Columbia, in which the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of the land, ruled that police do not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. So there's that. So there's that. All right, so let's see here. So, all right. The police do what the government tells them to do. Mortality be damned. The reason police didn't step in during these assaults is because they don't have a dog in the fight. Neither one of the sides has enough political power yet to warrant their protection. If this would have been a protest against G20, Wall Street, or the establishment in general, rest assured that the protesters would have been dealt with swiftly and belligerently, like we've seen before with Pittsburgh when there was a G20 or some G bullshit meeting in Pittsburgh where people were fucking clubbed. And again, here we go. It's high time that humans stop fighting over who they want to rule the world and start fighting against the people destroying it. The state takes the approach of coercive violence to force compliance. And it's quite apparent that this approach fails or falls short of its desired result. It's time to adopt peace as a means to the end, not just the ends. In the 20th century alone, government killed 174 million people as they ostensibly fought for freedom. Where has that gotten humanity? When hate and violence are used as a means to an end, we end up with people fighting in the streets over who should be the recipient of 30% of their paychecks. Can we not move past this already? Removal of due process, the initiation of violence, and the abuse of power. These are tools of the state, not the peaceful revolution. Those who take or harm an innocent life to incite change are no different than the mass murdering sociopaths within government. Do not mistake this path with pacifism, as self-defense is the root of all rights, for without it, we no longer exist. However, one cannot force others to change. They will only change when the information strikes them in a certain way. The only way we can have a direct effect on the only thing we can have a direct effect on is our own lives. It's time we start realizing our true potential as humans, or man and woman, and become and be the change we want to see in the world. But when people don't think that the world needs to change, and that we've got a system where they pretty much support, they pretty much support whatever the government does. They might have problems. There's a lot of people out there that have problems with Obamacare. Not the poor people, not the people who can't afford or didn't have insurance at all, who get it now for like $10 a month, or $20 a month, or $50 a month, or $60 a month. Well, with the middle class and people in the higher levels are paying $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. If that's not apparent to any person out there, or man or woman, that this is how you collectivize and steal from people to destroy the middle class, which many, many, many well-educated, well-certified individuals have said, this is, we're seeing the end of the middle class. We're seeing what I call the Hunger Games future for America, where there's incredibly rich, prominent, and then from there, just poor, downtrodden people that they haven't killed yet. So that's unfortunately what we're looking at. But this guy writes a good article. I like what he's saying. I like what he's saying. The freethoughtproject.com. He's on the cusp of understanding how it really works. And again, I'll read it. Police in America do not protect the people. They are here to enforce the law only. If you doubt this claim, just refer to Warren versus District of Columbia, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. See how the legal thing is? See, we think that we are the people. We the people, okay? We are not the people. And Clint has pointed this out, so I don't take any credit for knowing this now. I take credit for allowing myself to understand it. And that the people are actually John McCain, Barack Obama, okay? Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, okay? because when the documents were signed, when the Constitution, the ratification of all these so-called documents that represent America and what it was at that point and what it was going to be, that didn't include you or I. That was for them. They are we the people. We are persons. We are citizens, denizens, commoners, subjects. So if you look at the wording there, it's exactly what Clint was alluding to and pressing forward with. The Supreme Court ruled that police do not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. You are a person. The Constitution doesn't apply to you. So that is correct. That is correct. People that haven't figured out Alex Jones, who is probably part of this bloodline, of these bloodline families, we see that there are ways to dominate society, to dominate civilization, and that's how they've done it, through legal terminology. We don't understand what words mean, so we are at a decided disadvantage. The Bar Association is their club. Their club. They control it. They control everything. Federal government and all these other bums that are actually the people. We are not the people. Just go to Clint's site, realityblogger.wordpress.com, and search for "We Are Not the People." You and I or something, we're not the people. Okay? And he'll explain in more detail there why we are not the people. And it really just kind of goes back to the Constitution did not apply to us. It applied to them and only them and their posterity, which turns out to be Barack Obama. Barack Obama is the people, regardless of what the birth certificate or any of these other things are. They're just the distractions to make people not understand what's going on. People don't understand what's happening. So they can't do anything. They don't have a dog in the fight. Whereas they think that they do. But they don't. But they don't. Did I plug this back in here? And so that's what people need to really try to grasp, because the Constitution doesn't apply. It should really never ever say my constitutional rights are and have been violated, because you don't have any. Like me, you're a commoner, you're a denizen, you're a subject, you're a resident. So just keep, understanding and hearing the words that they say and use. Because when Barack Obama said, if you have a business, you didn't make that, you didn't build that, there's truth to that, because whatever you used their money, you used their money system to be able to do that. Whether you borrowed it from them or you saved it up or whatever, it's not yours. It's just a utility. It's their money. They're just letting you use it. And when they change the system, which is coming soon, like Sweden and so many other so-called nations over there in Europe, there will be no more cash. There will be no more of that particular freedom, which doesn't even mean what we think it means. Let's say there won't be that avenue for you to choose. Your choice of how you pay for something will not include something that you can, paper that you can pull out of your pocket and pay for. It's just not going to be there. It's not going to be there. So it's a mess. It is indeed a mess. Who is available? Who is on? So, find him. No, he's not there. All right. So, again, we are in a. It's a mess in a sense, because these groups that are being funded to do this to the Trump supporters, they're obviously being funded by, because they see, no, I mean, even if I was a staunch Hillary or Bernie supporter, and I'm not either, and I'm not a Trump supporter, I wouldn't go out and start fights with people about it. I might have a conversation, but I wouldn't start fights. These things are provocateur. They're provocateur. These people are being paid. And in an environment where economically people are hurting so badly, they can get any Trotskyite out there to just support somebody and go out and spit on someone or throw something at someone. I mean, why do you know, and that's what you've got now, because there's so many people that are out of work. You can recruit people and say, all I have to do is go and stand around and call somebody a douchebag or and spit at them or whatever. And there's people that are going to do it. There's people that are going to do it. And that's the state of affairs that we're in. Desperation leads to whatever. I mean, the United States corporation is about to be transformed, and there has to be divide and conquer. There has to be polarization. There has to be a breakdown, civil unrest, to protect what the truth is. To protect what the truth is. And the bottom line here is, you don't have a say. As a voter, you think you do, but you don't. You don't have a say. You've got nothing. You've got nothing. You might have a job now. You might have saved money at some point, and you're sitting there thinking, I got this, I got that. I'm okay. I've got that buffer, the buffer zone. But when the dollar eventually becomes devalued, You're not going to have as much as you have now. You're not. So, what, what can people do to try to, make this better, to make things better? And ultimately, I think it's obviously too late. It's obviously too late because believe me, I watch, I observe. There's very little resistance to anything. There's a misunderstanding of how things work. There's a misunderstanding of the operations of the corporation. And it's a sickness of pride. It's a sickness of ignorance. And, it's inevitably going to get us all fucking screwed. So, again, all I'm doing here is chronicling the fall of Western civilization. And things that, just things that make you go, Things that make you say, I wonder why the world it just never seems to get better. Relations, world peace. It just always, I just wonder why things are so desperately I can't even think. I guess I could think of a word, but it would be easy. But I'm trying to think of a more descriptive word. Why are things so desperately awful? Not awful, It's desperately unhinged because that's the way they want it. That's the way that creates commerce. That is the control. Money. Police protect private property. Like you saw in Ferguson, what happened? People needed to protect their businesses, so they pulled out rifles. Because why? Because the police do not have a constitutional, they're not, obligated to help the person, the commoner, the denizen, the subject. So they had to do it themselves. And what happened? Oh, what's that? What do you need those for? What do you need those for, pal? I don't see the need for that. And they're like, fuck you. Stay away from my store. The church is shit. Leading the people to slaughter with their existence. And it's not something that that people can understand. Somebody said the other day, and I mean Clint alluded to this as well. You cannot have a government without religion. You can't have religion without government, because if it wasn't for the religious corporations, government would be just decimated by the people, by commoners. But they're there doing their thing. The Catholics, the Christians, and then all the denominations, the Protestants, the blah, 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 the synagogues and the Jews, the biggest brainwashed group of people in the history of time. And just overall, I mean, the atheists, they don't, how do you classify? I don't even want to classify, just, at least they don't buy into it, but then they break away completely from any kind of source, any kind of spirituality. They break away. So they're morally and spiritually bankrupt. Not that you're going to get any morality from the church. They'll tell you to do whatever government says, do whatever this one says, do whatever that one says. It's all tied together. It's all tied together. The leader of the Holy See, as John Boehner introduced Pope Francis, the leader of the Holy See of commerce, the Holy See of deception. It's just all one big screw job. It's all one big deception. It's just one big deception. But there are no conspiracies. There are none. And there are no victims. Just volunteers. And the volunteers, unfortunately, from birth, you're spoken for by the mother, the matrix, the matriarch. You're delivered, thus abandoned to the state. And that's what it means. And that's why they frown so much against, natural childbirth and all these other things where you wouldn't be in a hospital to have to sign up. But see, people do the natural thing, and then they still get the birth certificate. And so they got that covered too. Like, hey, you want to do this out there? Hey, it's your... And then at some point they'll, if they haven't already abolished natural birth, or what they call that, something wive. Something wive. Let's see what we got here. So it's a pretty laid back program here today. No new guitar, no guests. Just talk. Let's see what we got here. See what we got here on UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. Gonna try to get to the chat room, see who's hanging out today. I might have to. Hey there, I'm on my way. I'm making it. Oh, yes. So, yes, it's, you know, it's all good. It's all good. How's everybody doing there? First Sunday of the month here on UCY. It's grinding your gears. Anybody got anything grinding your gears in the chat room? What's grinding your gears, eh? Yeah. Thanks. Seems to be kind of moving around okay, but, you know, he does have the tumor. He does have the tumor. And then, you know, I heard this program yesterday with Blaylock, and then I remembered those rats and the test animals with the tumors caused by GMO consumption. Then I'm thinking, so now I have to. I don't think on any dog food out there that there is a no GMO thing, you know. But you know, it is. Figure out a way to test the food or something, you know. I don't know. But even the grain-free stuff, you gotta, you know, you got to, you know, do your due diligence, or do your diligence, you do due diligence, and it's all, you know. But I think if anybody, you know, cuts into it or does anything with it, I mean, that's bad too, you know. That can be bad too. They cut into it and do things, you know. So, there he is. Seems to be doing his number 1 and his number 2 pretty good still. And I hope everybody's had a, you know, good Memorial Day weekend. I know I was online. I mean, I did the show last weekend, but, you know, it's 3 days. Just didn't feel like a weekend. It felt like some kind of I don't know. I just don't, you know, when I think about Memorial Day, you know, my father, as I'm sure relatives of yours, spent time in the war spectrum, and then of course but knowing what has been uncovered throughout time about World War I, World War II, he can't really. I don't know. I don't have the feeling of that. Obviously, we know that they don't really care about the troops. They don't care about the veterans. They let them wait and suffer, and then a lot of them wind up dying as a result of being and waiting for the Veterans Administration to actually. Sorry. to actually, take care of them or help them with their ills. One second, I'm going to stir. I'm going to stir. I'm going to stir. I don't want to stir in your ear. Some iced coffee here. It's just sad to see, people so deceived, used and deceived and manipulated so that they think that things happened that didn't actually happen. And things that did happen, they don't really know what the reason was for those happenings. So it just kind of is not, it's not something that, it's just not something that, well, it's not real. It's more fiction. It's the artifice, the artificial reality. And again, it's sad. Homeland Security using private contractor vans to transport and release illegal aliens inside the U.S. DHS is quietly transporting illegal immigrants from the Mexican border to Phoenix and releasing them without proper processing or issuing court appearance documents. Border Patrol sources tell Judicial Watch. The government classifies them as other than Mexican, or OTM, and this week around 35 were transferred 116 miles north from Tucson to a Phoenix bus station where they went their separate way. Judicial Watch was present when one of the white vans carrying a group of OTMs arrived in Phoenix at the Phoenix Greyhound station on Buckeye Road. So obviously this was going on before in greater numbers, and it's happening now as well, as things kind of trickled down for a while. The goal is to overrun. The goal is to overrun the corporation with the Bolshevik style elements. And in doing so, there'll be more people to, employ to create riots. And here's the thing. They're not citizens. They don't have documentation. They cannot be processed. They have no money. This fake fiction cannot get anything from them, so that's why they have to let them go. If they were to pick up someone else, someone who is a citizen with a driver's license and a birth certificate and a social security number, then they could process and extract from that person or citizen. But it's all part of the Bolshevik Revolution 2.0. I mean, it could be in its fourth or fifth phase because they did the same thing in Germany, and it's all part of the recipe. For the first time since the Iraq War, U.S. launches airstrikes from the Mediterranean. Brazil's Temer convicted, banned from office as thousands take to the streets. More revelations of oozing corruption in interim president's administration. Now, they're having big problems down there in Brazil, okay? And Zika, and then the Olympics. So, there goes a recipe. Sandy Hook lawsuit against gun manufacturers is going to court, of course. Let's get some commerce. This week, a judge in the state of Connecticut denied a motion by gun manufacturers to dismiss what could be a landmark case for the industry. Families of many of those whose lives were lost in the tragic shooting in Sandy Hook and are filing a lawsuit against these companies for making a gun they knew or should have known served no purpose but to kill large numbers of people. UN adopts an education plan to indoctrinate children in globalism. Let's see who put that out. There it is. That's Alex Newman. I'm not quite sure who he is. TheNewAmerican.com. Okay. Now I know. A United Nations summit in Korea this week adopted a global action plan demanding a planetary education regime to transform children around the world into social justice warriors, Bolshevik Revolution, i.e., right, and sustainability-minded global citizens. Among other elements, that means the UN-directed global education must promote integrated development of the whole person, of the whole person, there's that word again, including the formation of their ethics, values, and spirituality, the final document declared. The global citizenship programs, which means global enslavement, with definitions to be incorporated in curricula worldwide, should also indoctrinate children so that they understand their responsibilities to protect the planet and promote what the UN and its member governments consider to be the common good. The controversial action plan, approved by the UN's propaganda department and a group of largely government-funded or NGOs on June 1st in the Republic of Korea, is aimed at helping the UN impose its Agenda 2030 scheme to transform the world. In fact, the title of the summit gave away the agenda: Education for Global Citizenship, Achieving the Sustainable Development Goals Together. As the New American has documented extensively, the UN 2030 plan, also known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, was approved by governments and dictators last year as a roadmap toward global control, or tyranny, from national and international wealth redistribution to government health care and legal abortion for all. The controversial Agenda 2030 vows repeatedly to leave no one behind. How cool, huh? See all the key words? However, globalists and the UN know that to achieve their vision of global totalitarianism, the minds of the young must be captured via education. Agenda 2030 actually has an entire goal dedicated to UN-guided education. And so the latest summit in Korea, organized for NGOs by the UN Department of Public Information, or UNDPI, was aimed at defining what the education regime will look like and how NGOs can help. Education is a human right, essential to well-being and dignity, and is key to achieving Agenda 2030. Reads the action plan adopted this week. Further, an ethos of global citizenship is required in order to fulfill this bold, people-centered, universal, and planet-sensitive development framework. In the spirit of global citizenship, the document declares that our primary identity is that of human beings, meaning not man, but some form of man. Quote, but the agenda is much broader. Oh, I'm sorry, that quote was, the document declares that our primary identity is that of human beings. But the agenda is much broader than attacking nationalism and patriotism. The UNDPI and the AstroTurf NGOs that surround it style themselves civil society, explain that what they call education must also be about more than what people normally think of as education: literacy, numeracy, and so on. In the UN's view, meaning the global elite's creation, the United Nations, when there's actually been more war and genocide after their creation, which was the goal all along. And according to the Gyeongju Action Plan adopted in Korea, education must advance the cause of global citizenship. Citizenship in this country, in the American corporation, means that you are and have been reduced to the level of slave, commoner, denizen, subject. This means a lot more than one might think, too, as they are probably becoming well aware over there at the New American. Among other points, this education for global citizenship must promote integrated development of the whole, emotionally, ethically, intellectually, physically, socially, and spiritually, the action plan declares. Emphasis added, right? Of course, parents, families, communities, tribes, churches, and more have traditionally been responsible for much of that. When or under what authority government run, UN-approved schools became responsible for children's physical, ethical, spiritual, emotional, and social development was not really made clear. The implications, though, should trouble anyone who values liberty, diversity, national sovereignty, and parental rights, all marked as terrorist behavior, I'm sure. The education pushed by the UN must also be imbued with an understanding of our roles. You know, like Payday said, you won't be born unless you have a job to do. 1 second, please. I'll be right with you. I'm back. All right, so I'm just planning the. All right, so the let me. This is a little hot. Again, the education pushed by the UN must also be imbued with the understanding of our roles, rights, and responsibilities for the common good in service to humanity and the advancement of a culture of peace, nonviolence, freedom, which means you're not going to be allowed to have guns. Justice and equality. Sounds like a Hunger Games style society. Initially, and then, of course, the killing of the children and the Hunger Games winner at some point later on down the line. And responsibilities for the common good and service to humanity and the advancement of culture of peace. The action plan continued using rhetoric about the common good that has been the rallying cry of countless tyrants. The Globo education must inculcate a sense of care for the earth, pantheism, reverence for the interdependent kinship of all life, and stewardship of all ecological systems for future generations. That's why they're spraying massive amounts of chemicals and shooting people up with infectious prions and all kinds of other things, creating mass disease. But they care, and that's what this is all about. It should also strengthen the societal relationships among individuals, institutions, communities, states, humanity, and the planet. And finally, it should nurture a sense of solidarity and empathy in order to end poverty, which means send poison toxic food into more of these regions, protect the planet, ensure human rights, and foster prosperous and fulfilling lives for all. To those not well versed in global speak, that all might sound fine and dandy. However, when the UN's agenda is examined more closely, the real agenda becomes more clear. Consider, as just one point among many, what the UN means when it speaks of human rights. In Article 29 of the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the government signatories claim rights can be limited by law under the guise of everything from public order to the general welfare. In other words, you have no rights, only privileges. Separately, the same article claims that everyone has duties to the community and that rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purpose and principles of the United Nations. Compare that to the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, which again doesn't really apply to us, which outlined a protect God-given inalienable rights. Further down, the Global Action Plan explains that the education agenda intends to shape every aspect of human life and civilization. Education for global citizenship is an essential strategy to address global challenges as well as to promote gender equality, facilitate the eradication of poverty and hunger, build skills, eliminate corruption, and prevent violence, including violence and violent extremism, the document says. For those who figure out that it's all bullshit, you will be labeled as an extremist and violence, or an extremist that is fomenting violence. It promotes truly sustainable production and consumption, mitigating climate change and its effects, protecting our waters and biodiversity, and preserving indigenous knowledge. Sounds really sweet. If tradition and individual cultures get in the way of that agenda for UN-defined human rights and global citizenship, then educational understandings of those things will have to be enhanced. The action plan declares. The document also makes clear that this must be a worldwide effort, saying the global citizenship scheming must be incorporated in school curricula worldwide, and that equitable quality education as defined by the UN must be provided to all people. The signatories vowed to work at the local level too to incorporate education for global citizenship in educational systems. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen billboards saying, become a global citizen. That's been popping up this year, possibly in late last year, but I have seen the global citizenship push. So that's what this is kind of about here. Or just a small propaganda to bring you into something so wonderful, so beautiful, so progressive that there's no way that you wouldn't want to be a part of this. The signatories of the action plan developed at the 66th United Nations Department of Public Information, DPI, non-governmental organization conference, also committed to pushing global education that promotes a number of controversial concepts. We commit to an education that teaches conflict resolution, a deep appreciation for diversity, sounds like an ADL, well, I'm sure they're involved in it as well, ethical reasoning, gender equality, human rights and responsibilities, interdependence, multilingual and multicultural competence, social justice, sustainable development, and values, it said. Those values, of course, are very unlikely to reflect the values of most parents around the world, whether they be Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or any other major religious tradition. Instead, the values will be the values guarding the UN, globalism, pseudo-environmentalism, socialism, and more. The UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, is at the center of the UN's global education machinations. In addition to a partnership signed with Common Core financier Bill Gates, UNESCO has been hard at work in its efforts to standardize and dumb down education all over the world. Among other schemes, it runs global programs or education for sustainable development, educational for global citizenship, and much more. Maybe he meant education for global citizenship and much more. It also has a world core curriculum dedicated to and inspired by influential occultist Alice Bailey that it hopes will guide schooling around the world in years to come. At a previous UN Education Summit held last year in Korea, UNESCO boss Irina Bakova, a Bulgarian Communist Party operative who PR agents claim is among the frontrunners to lead the broader UN, also declared the UN's intentions. She said, "We have the collective duty to empower every child and youth with the right foundations," or should I say, we have the collective plan to disempower every child and youth with the wrong, destructive foundations, knowledge, values, and skills to reshape the future as responsible global slaves, building on the success of the past 15 years. She said, adding that education would transform lives and contribute to breakthroughs on all the proposed sustainable development goals. In other words, the UN, not parents or families or communities, believes that it has not just the right, but the collective duty to shape your children's values and not you. So that's nice of them to kind of want to, get in there and, and do these things for your children. Let's see. Latest conference on pushing Agenda 2030 through globalist indoctrination of children masquerading as education is a crucial follow-up to the adoption of the agenda itself. Children and young women and men are critical agents of change and will find in the new goals a platform to channel their infinite capacities for activism into the creation of a better world. The official 2030 agreement explains. This sort of activist that the UN hopes to make your children into is also explicitly defined in the agreement. Quote, by 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. The plan states, considering what the UN means by sustainable development, which is population control, central planning, global governance, and more, the agenda for your children takes on an even more sinister tone. Sustainable children for global citizenship in the new order will be accomplished via what the UN, the Obama administration, and others misleadingly refer to as education. In the UN document, the word education alone is mentioned more than 20 times. And throughout the agreement, the UN openly advocates the use of schools to indoctrinate all of humanity into a new set of values, attitudes, and beliefs in preparation for the new green and sustainable world order. The UN's education agenda also puts sex education front and center. Quote, by 2030, ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services, abortion and contraception, including for family planning, information, and education, the document also explains. For now, Americans, Europeans, and people around the world will still have many options to protect their children from the global brainwashing campaign being pushed by the UN, home education, private schools, Christian schools, and more. However, the UN realizes that too, and so in recent years, under the phony guise of human rights, the UN has started agitating for government control and regulation of private and alternative forms of education, in addition to its grip on public schools. The UN also continues to push international education agreements and schemes on everything from sex education and reading, pedagogy to values and beliefs. All right, we're running out of time here, but the rest of there's not that much left. There's a good reason the UN is ridiculed by critics as the dictators club. Most of its members' governments cannot be considered free, even under the most generous definition of the term. Allowing the UN to make and shape education policy is not just dangerous, then it is crazy. Instead, education should be a job for families, communities, churches, charities, schools, and more, but primarily parents. The future of liberty literally depends upon it. And that you can see that over there, but he's got a list of all these different backup articles to let you see that this has been a build-up over time to put all these pieces of the puzzle in place to turn your children into little brainwashed children of the corn. Take care.
Try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list. That's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform Shakana on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we gotta teach you.